Hi, Victoria. Or Sela May, how are you? Funny. Wow. Weird. Well, Sela May, it looks like it's just you and me here. Nobody else wants to watch today. Uh, well, let me ask you. How is everybody doing on their lockdown? Are you ready to pull your hair out yet? You can you can write to me on this. Just don't do it on Messenger because uh, it won't show up here, and I will need to see it here. So the question is, how is everybody doing on lockdown? So, people, tell me, how is it doing on your lockdown? Just message on the video, and don't sit there and and send me messenger. Just send it by video here. Rosaminda is watching. Mai Paglinawan is watching. Thank you. How are you doing, Mai? Are you doing okay in your lockdown? How is it in Batangas and Mataas? Well, we are on lockdown. Uh, the only way you can leave your house is simply, hi Sidra. The only way that you can leave your house is if you are going actually to buy groceries or you are going to work. If you don't want to be out walking around, the police is actually out there fining people $500 per person for being outside. I'm sorry. Let's see, in the Philippines, that would be 25,000 pesos. Or, yeah. Yeah, 25,000 pesos just for being outside when you shouldn't be out there. Hello, Yaping. Hi, Juliet. How are you? The question is, how are you doing in your lockdown? Rosaminda says she's just staying at home. Rosaminda, do you have enough food to continue if you should go another month? One of the things that I want to mention in the Philippines, at least I know I heard from a friend of mine in Angeles City, and they are giving a thousand pesos to certain people. It's not to everybody. It is to registered single parent. You can either be a man or a woman, but you're a parent. Um, you have to be a registered single parent. If you belong to a group of, like a, let's say you're part of say you drive a jeepney. And if you drive a jeepney and you're part of a registered group of jeepneys, you will also receive 1,000 pesos. If you are a registered tricycle and you're part of a group like a company of tricycles, you will receive 1,000 pesos. If there was another couple of stipulations, but not everybody is getting 1,000 pesos. That's really what I'm seeing is, and this is a problem in the United States as well as Europe. I don't know about other countries like Mexico or Central America or South America. But in the Philippines, the policy is you don't work, you don't get paid. There is no stimulus to help employers to keep their employees paid. So, what I worry about is those who cannot go work, because of this lockdown. How are they going to, how are you going to get food? How are you going to be able to buy the things that you need? Women need feminine napkins. How are you going to buy these things if you can't, if you have to close your sorry store, or if you have to, because nobody can come and buy? How are you going to be able to support yourself? This is just simply just one of the things that, in the Philippines has to be looked out for. Is the lockdown so advantageous that you're making people destitute, making people starve? The coronavirus is not a death sentence to any who gets it. It's only problematic for those who have underlying medical conditions. Also for those who are, immune deficiency, such as HIV or tuberculosis or diabetes. Any of those would be at high risk. But for the majority of the people, if you just take care of yourself when you are sick and isolate yourself, you'll be fine. There will be a few that might have to go because it develops into pneumonia. And that's the only danger. Any flu virus, and corona is a flu virus, a type, can develop into pneumonia. Even your type A run-of-the-mill 3-day flu can develop into pneumonia if you don't take care of yourself. So, but the question I have is the lockdown more important than the survival of your own people? If they can't buy food, if they can't go to work and do the things they need to do to support their families, how is the lockdown going to help them? Already the tourist places are suffering greatly, and they're laying people off. The so there's no way for them to feed their families unless you live in the province somewhere where you have a farm, or you have a small farm behind your house or next to your house. You can grow vegetables. It's not that, you can grow vegetables and have vegetables to eat. You don't have to have meat to survive, but you can have vegetables. But for those that live in the cities who are now not working because of the lockdown, they can't even leave their own house. There's the problem. The problem is that. It is the same within the United States. It's the same within Europe and any other country that has gone on lockdown. Is the starvation of your own people worth the lockdown? And at some point, there will be, and I hate to say it, so, but this is true. People will have enough. They will have had enough. And at some point, either there will be a rebellion, or they will join splinter groups, the NPA, the communists. They will, people will, because these people are going to come to them and say, we can offer you food and protection. You just join us. And so they have to make a choice. Do they feed their starving family, or what is it do they do? It's these things have to be weighed very carefully. So if the lockdown is destroying the economy, hello, Mary. If the lockdown is destroying the economy, and if the lockdown is destroying or causing extreme hardship upon the people of that country, where they cannot go and buy food, what good is the lockdown? Well, they say, well, it's in public health. Well, again, this lockdown supposedly is to protect everybody. But what's happening is it's actually hurting people. It's hurting economies. It's hurting businesses. It's hurting everyone. Right now the coronavirus kill rate is sitting somewhere around 2.8%. That's 2.8%. So that means if you know you're at that high risk, and that's who is dying in this, if you are at that high risk, you know, I would isolate myself, you know, avoid contact with people. And we all know who the high risk people are. It's not everyday guy that goes and takes his Carabao out and runs the rice field. He's not high risk. He's in good condition. It's not the, you know, the people who are operating and working hard, you know, their piggeries, their chicken places, you know, who are trying to produce food for people. God bless you too, Juliet. Mat Yaping. What can you do? You know, you're keeping people from helping themselves in favor of a lockdown, thinking that you're going to stop this virus. And you're not going to stop the virus. I'm sorry. You're just not going to stop it. There is no vaccine for it. There has never been a vaccine for any type of flu at all. You know, and the vaccines they give you, if you are under a certain age, they're giving you what they say is a weakened live virus. And if you're above a certain age, they give you a dead virus. Okay, but that doesn't cure the flu or any other kind of flu. You know, my question is, and I would say this, you know, there's only so much a people can stand. You know, we just had I read online that in North Carolina there was a massacre of 7 people, which was a suicide, was a massacre and suicide. So of the 7, one of them was the killer. You're going to find people are going to go nuts. You know, you're already exacerbating the conspiracy theories, and you're just making it worse. Hi, Thelma, Auntie Thelma. How are you? I need to talk to you, Thelma, about some issues at the house. So whenever you can, you know, we need to discuss things and how to go forward with what we've got already. Some of the things that we have to be careful of is that if you're in lockdown, which I am, you got to spend a lot of time in prayer, because it is the meditation on the scripture and the prayer that's going to actually keep you sane. Spend a lot of time praying in the Holy Ghost. That is the one thing that you actually have to do. Put away your video games. Put away your TV. Don't waste your time with that. Spend time with God. There is, you know, and you have to encourage each other. If you're going to be on your phone, call your brothers and sisters in the Lord. Talk to them. Exakia Prahes Wallace, where have you been, girl? I have been looking for you. And welcome to my live show. Pastor Allen, hi, how are you? The question that I have going tonight is, how are you faring in the lockdown? These are my questions. How are you faring in the lockdown? Are you all right? Do you have food? Do you have, how about your barangay? How's your barangay doing? I heard from the Kulit barangay that their people are running out of food. And so it's important that, we keep everybody fed. We cannot withhold food from people who need food. We are not to hoard up for ourselves all the food. We can't do that. Not while your next door neighbor is hungry. One, it's not the Christian thing to do. We don't allow people to go into misery just simply because, we're trying to save all of this food for ourselves. If we give, it'll be given back to us. Pressed down, shaking together, and running over. And that's part of what being a Christian is taking care of others and their need. And I understand, I have friends all over the Philippines. And I understand some are doing okay, but they're just concerned if they're going to be able to go out and buy groceries. Some have already run out of money. They don't have any more money to buy groceries. Some who own piggeries, they can't sell. They don't know what to do with their business. They can't buy any more feed because no one is buying pigs. No one is buying lechon. So what are they going to do? They don't even know if they can sell the pigs at market weight. Anna Lynn, hi, how are you? The thing is that, everybody's hurting because of the lockdown, but is the lockdown worth it to where your people are hurting? At what point is the government going to decide enough is enough? We cannot suppress the people and make them stay indoors. They have to get back to work. They have to go back to work. And mass starvation over this coronavirus is not the answer. Jesus is the answer, but mass starvation is not. These people need to get back to work. Every employee that was working before the lockdown needs to be able to go back to where they were working, no questions asked. In other words, the employer cannot say, well, I don't want to hire you back because if I hire you back the way you were, you're this close to getting full-time benefits, so I don't want to hire you back because of that. You know what? At some point, the employer needs to grow up because these people have families. They need to take care of their families. But as I said before, if you keep pushing the people down and threatening them at the threat of gunpoint, if they're outside, they're going to end up joining rebel groups, the NPA, the guerrillas, the communist guerrillas that are there. They will flourish through this. And then that can be a problem. There could be a lot of social unrest if they don't ease up. And I'm not talking just the Philippines. I'm talking everybody. Every single country that is in lockdown. I'm talking New York City. Man, that place is a ghost town. I saw some video on that. That place is a ghost town. And you can't, at the point of a gun, stop somebody from taking care of their family. And to do so, you've now slid into dictatorship. And some of these mayors, I've been reading about some of these mayors in the United States now think that they're some kind of warlord because they are threatening their own citizens at gunpoint. The sheriff of Los Angeles County says that he will arrest anybody he sees outside. He does not have the authority to do that. And yet, their thinking has made them like they're like some kind of a god. That they can choose who can go where and who cannot. You know, if he's just in a bad mood one day, you know, he can say, you know, if I catch anyone outside, they're all going to jail for 30 days. You know, and if you have an emergency, like you need to get to the hospital, like, for example, your wife is having a baby, what else are you going, you know, and so you get arrested, you both get arrested and fined for being outside. Oh, come on. You're going to keep abortion clinics open, but you're going to close the churches. I can already see where this is going. It's unbelievable. I'll be right back in a minute. Okay. Churches are in the business for saving souls, and in saving souls, saving life. Because if you get a soul saved and get them filled with the Holy Ghost, their lives change dramatically. And they become new creatures in Christ. Their lives change dramatically. From the evil they once did to now the good they will do for the Lord. Abortion clinics, on the other hand, perpetuate evil. Because, well, you're saying to the young lady that's coming in to get an abortion, you have as much sex as you want. If you get pregnant, just come to us and we'll kill the baby. Churches are there for life. Abortion clinics are nothing but death. Not only is it death for the child, but that mother that gave up her child to the death is scarred for life. The emotional trauma that she goes through afterward. But they want to keep the abortion clinics open, but they don't want to keep the churches open. I don't know about you, virtual church, where all that's there in the building is the song team, the music ministry, and the preacher, and everybody else is home, and they tell you, well, just watch it on TV. It's not the same. You have to be with your brothers and your sisters. It's not the same, and it will never be the same. You know, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. That's what Jesus said. Jesus said that. I didn't say it. And the other scripture, not to forsaking of ourselves, not to forsaking the assembling of ourselves, even as we see the day approaching. As we see the closure of this world, that is the more we need to be together. That is the more we need to be together. The idea of mass lockdown. You know, I've always wondered how they were going to get this New World Order going. Because there are many people that are, you know, that would be opposed to it who are not even Christians. There are many people who are not even Christians that are opposed to that. And yet, how, I've always wondered, what is it going to take to make people want a new world order, a one world government? And this here is a perfect example. You know, they say that millions in the United States have already would test positive for the coronavirus. Millions. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what they say. They say billions with a B, billions over the world would test positive for the coronavirus. Yet it's only a select few who are actually getting it. And out of that select few, there is even a further reduced number, far reduced number, of those that end up in the hospital. And of those that end up in the hospital, it's another far reduced number that actually die from it. So I don't, when they're talking like I should be scared to death to go out my front door because I might catch something, I'm sorry. I'm not scared of this thing. And I'm not scared of my government. And I'm not scared that, of anything. I went through combat 3 times. Had bullets flown at me, rocketed, mortared, people that were literally out there just to kill me in any way they can. I've been there. And I wasn't really so scared then. As long as I followed my training that I was trained in warfare, as long as I followed my training and taught my troops that training, you would have a 98% chance of coming out alive. So, and I'm not scared of this virus. We had there was a guy Well, at my work, they revealed to us that someone at my work tested positive for the coronavirus. So they all gave us, "Hi, Noemi Joy, how are you?" She is the cutest little girl, and I love her so much. They gave us these kits. Basically, it's a temperature thing you put on your forehead, and if it, does this, then, then they tell you to stay at home. There was a guy, he has that real mean appearance. He has that, he looks like he's one of these guys that's in the movies, bald head, a little bit of face hair here, tattoos all over, and he's just one of those mean guys you wouldn't want to meet in an alley. Well, they told him about it. He got so scared he started crying, and then he went home. You find out how much people have real courage to walk through something, and then those that would abandon you in a heartbeat. The thing is that, what I'm trying to get here, and the question is, and it's been a while since I asked this question, the question is, how are you doing in your lockdown? Now, I put out to 100 people that I wanted a 5-minute video of how things are going in their lockdown. Put out a 5-minute video. Just all you got to do is turn the camera on yourself and hit record and talk to me about how things are going in your country, in your city. How are things going? What is going on? How is the community leaders reacting to all of this? I asked 100 people. I got 5. So out of 100 people, I got 5 videos. And it's nothing to be shy about. When you're looking at the camera, talking to the camera, just think you're talking to me. I'm very easy. I like to laugh, and I like to talk with people. But this is what I asked, and I only got 5. I got 2 from Africa, 1 from Pakistan, 1 from India, and 1 from Davao. And this was open to everybody. I don't care if you're Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, Japanese, Cambodian, Thai, Myanmar, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, wherever you are in the world, including the United States and Europe. And I'm putting this out. Just send me a 5-minute video on my messenger on Facebook. Just send it to me. Don't forward it to me. Send it directly from your phone to me on Messenger. I want to see what's going on in and around where you're at. If I don't know what's happening, I don't know what to pray for. A general prayer is great for general purposes. But if there are specific needs, I need to know what's going on. And so, again, I'm putting this out. If you can, just turn your phone up like this, you know, everybody knows how to hold a phone and take a selfie. Well, instead of taking a selfie, you know, go to the little camera button and hit the record button and give me 5 minutes. Talk about what's going on in your own language. That's fine with me. You don't have to speak English. You know, in your own language. How is it affecting you, your family, your community? You know, what are your fears and your concerns? That's what I want. And, you know, so as I get them, I know what to pray for. You know, that particular need of that particular place. We're at the beginning of the one world government. I'm going back to that. Now, the thing was, I was wondering how you would want a world a world full of different people, different governments. You know, how are you going to want an entire world to adopt a single government in control of the whole world? This is a perfect example of it. And people are already calling for it. Well, we need a world body that's going to, you know, manage the economy, and now is going to need to be able to manage, you know, this virus, and we need a world leadership to do this. I actually heard a mayor in New York City make that very appeal. They're already starting to call for it. And this virus is nothing. This virus is really nothing. It's more hype, and it's more scary talk than it is anything. You know, walking around with a mask all day long is not going to stop you from getting the coronavirus. That's the truth. And I'm seeing people walk around, and you can just see it's all wet and everything, and everything, and where they just keep breathing out into that mask, creating that warm, moist environment, which is conducive to bacterial growth, conducive to virus growth. So you got that right there next to your face and your nose. In the meanwhile, the masks don't fit properly. So they're still letting in air through the sides and the bottom and the top. Come on. The mask isn't going to save you. And people can't buy masks anyways, because they're all sold out. So a friend of mine in Bohol, Philippines, had to go from his house to Taliban, just in order to, I think it was to get a paper that he needed. He's an American, married to a Filipina. And to get a paper, she can't go with him. And yet she needs to be there with him because she's got to verify, but she can't go because there's only one person per car. And in order for him to get into Taliban from their house on top of a mountain somewhere, he has to wear a mask. And he cannot go into the city unless he wears a mask. You know, they got checkpoints now out there. So he has a cloth mask that he wears only when he has to go into the city. And then when he comes home, you know, he takes it and he washes it. But You can't buy masks because you got some people that buy up all the masks for their own selves, as if the mask is the hand of God protecting you from a virus. The mask is not the hand of God. How does it go? Those professing themselves to be wise become fools. Medical science is doing all it can to try to do something, but they don't know what to do. All they can do is, if you got it and you're hospitalized, not everybody who catches it needs to be hospitalized. If you got it and you are hospitalized, all they can do is just try to make you comfortable and keep your for those who have developed pneumonia, try to keep them from having further problems with pneumonia or dying. That's all they can do. There is no cure for this. So if somebody says there's a cure for it, nah, ain't happening. The only cure is Jesus Christ. As long as his blood flows in your veins, that blood will wipe out that disease. But you got to have his blood flowing through your veins. You got to be a child of the King. You got to be a child of God. So my question tonight is, how are you doing in this lockdown? And I'm going to tell you something. The ones that I'm getting, there are the 5 people that sent me videos on that have all said the same thing. They're out of food. They can't go get food because they can't leave their houses. And they can't go to work to earn money to get food. So let's ask this other question. If people cannot go and buy food, what are they going to do with all the food? Who gets it? Are they going to gather it up and start calling barangay by barangay by barangay and say, hey, barangay number 2, come bring your people, 1 person per household, and get food for a month? They're not going to do that. Because the farmers have to go outside to work, and yet nobody can go and do anything. Unless you really live in the province and you live out away from everything, you know, you might have a little more freedom to do something. But, you know, this is ridiculous. You starve a people out of fear. And in starvation, people become desperate. And when they become desperate, they start becoming unlawful. And as they become unlawful, this can lead to rebellious groups, such as NPA or communist groups or Abu Sayyaf or whatever. You know, that's more problems for a government than the government should have to deal with. I just don't understand how you can starve a people in favor of a virus that's going to come through anyways. It's still going to affect the same amount of people. The same amount of people that catch it, there's a few that will go into the hospitals. It's still going to affect them. And it's going to affect the very small percentage of those who die. It's a very small percentage. You have more of a chance of living through it, you know, than anything. And people have to understand, if you catch it, you're not going to die from it automatically. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. There's a conversation going on in one of my groups. So I'm going to put the call out. Here's what I want. I need 100 people, 100 different people to give me a 5-minute video. You don't have to introduce yourself if you don't want to. Just say, Brother Robert, this is what's going on where I live during this lockdown. And that's it. 5-minute video. And then send it directly to me on Messenger, on my Facebook Messenger. And that's all I'm asking for. One, so I can know what to pray for. What are the needs of you and your family, your community, everything. You know, how can if somebody has the ability to help your financial problem, you know, but yet you can't go to the Western Union, or you can't go to the MoneyGram because you're on lockdown. You know, there's a lot of things that need to be addressed about this. There has to be thinking of an end game. In other words, there has to be an exit out of the lockdown. The government has to be already in that planning stages. Because there's always can be an excuse for a lockdown. Let's say this drags on for another month. People are now starving. They can't get food. They can't pay their bills. They can't pay for, you know, if you live in a city, you can't pay for your water. You can't pay for your electricity. You can't make your house payment. You're going to start getting desperate. And, you know, these are the things that have to be considered. A government has to consider if you do this and the people are getting desperate and then they're starting to become lawless because they need food. Quite simple. They need food. So they start breaking into grocery stores and sorry stores and mom pop stores, looking for anything that they can use to either A, get food or trade for food. Now you've got lawlessness. What else can you do as a government? Well, we're going to, because all these people are doing all this, because we locked them down and they can't get any food, so now what we're going to do is we're going to clamp down even harder. If you are outside of your house, you will be shot. Okay, then what happens? Now government has taken complete control over you. At some point, the government has to stop and say, the lockdown is over, get back to work. Employers, rehire your employees that you had before the lockdown. There could be no layoffs. There can be no, no cutoffs or anything like that, because they're about to become full-time employees. You know that you can't penalize a people because of a virus. And the governments need to now start be thinking that for the health of their people, they need to stop the lockdowns. For the health of their nation, they need to stop the lockdowns. You no longer need, at this point, billions have already got the virus. Some are not sick at all. Others feels like they have a cold. Others like your normal type A flu. Others a little sicker. Billions have already got this virus. And yet the percentage is so low that you will die. It is so low. It is at 2.8%, and it could be even lower than that once the actual numbers come in. And everybody went in lockdown for what? You penalized your country for what? You destroyed your economy for what? This is what is going to drive people to that one world order. Because the countries are destroying their own selves through these lockdowns. They're going to have to go. They're going to have to seek help from the World Monetary Fund, which is a bunch of the richest people in the world who hold probably 90% of all wealth in the world. And there are very few of them, like maybe 100, if that much, that hold all the wealth in the world. And they can squeeze a nation dry just for power. They have the wealth. They don't need any more, and they know it. But they can squeeze a nation dry. And all they need is power. That's all they want. And that's all that's going to happen. Every nation will be squeezed dry. A lot of promises will be made. A lot of promises. But these promises will never be kept. Because they actually don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about you. All they care about is the power that they desire and the power that they want. Because then they can command to any nation, hey, we need you to do such and such, or we're going to squeeze your economy dry. Hello, Josephine. And this is the truth, folks. This is the beginning of your one world government, your new world order. And I was wondering how it was going to happen. I was wondering how it was going to happen. How does it happen? They send everybody into a panic, cause the countries to lock down when there's no need to lock down, and then they force people to adopt something that they really don't want, but they have no choice. You can either, and this is the choice, this is what they're telling you. Well, you can die by the coronavirus or you can die by starvation. Well, one, you're not going to die by the coronavirus if you catch it. Only very few do. The percentage is so low it's not even mentionable anymore. Now, for those who have died and their families who have suffered through it, I'm sorry. I'm not being hard-hearted. But in the overall picture, this lockdown has hurt more people, more countries, more nations than anything that's ever been experienced in this world. All for the sake to push in a one world government. So the governments, if your government is trying to go for a one world government, the people can vote those people out and put in people who are nationalists, who believe in their nation and their people, and the exceptionalism of their people, who would not give up sovereignty to anyone for any reason. Every nation is a sovereign nation, and the people have a right to choose for themselves what they want. As far as their nation is concerned, they don't need their politicians to turn over their government to another government. And that includes the United States. And that includes every country in Europe. And I was looking at a map of the affected places of the coronavirus. And the areas that, the countries that were heavily affected were all marked in red. Well, in China, you got that one little spot up there where Wuhan was. But if you look at Europe and you look at the United States, those countries are all painted in red, completely. So this tells me one thing, that the United States and Europe were targeted. This was specific targeting of these two places. That the United States was targeted and the European Union was targeted. So these were targeted. These were targets. And this is the way I think these people that left Wuhan with the virus knew they had the virus, and they knew what the intention was to do, was to go and carry the disease to Europe and to the United States, to infect as many as possible. There were they said 5 million people left Wuhan. And how many of those people that left Wuhan before that crackdown, how many of them were agents to carry out this kind of thing? And I look at the map of the United States on this map of the world, and it's painted red. And Europe is painted red. Why is the rest of the world not painted red? Because the United States and Europe were specifically targeted. This was something that somebody set out to do to try to bring the United States and Europe to its knees. So we got to stop the lockdowns, especially in the United States and in Europe. I would love to see it in the Philippines. Stop the lockdown, get your people back to work, keep the economies going. You cannot pass a bill that you're going to have spend $2 trillion to help those that are going to go through this when you don't actually have the money to print the money. You don't have that kind of wealth to even print the money. I'm looking at hyperinflation coming. Inflation so bad that It was going to cost you a day's wages just to buy a loaf of bread. Oh, where did I hear that? It's in the book of Revelation. A measure of wheat for a day's wages. So we are already there. The 4 horsemen have been running rampant over the earth for the last few years. It's already happening. And the one world government is poised to take control. There's nothing in Scripture that says the Antichrist sets up a one world government. It can be already in place. He just takes it over. And my guess will be he will take it over after the Gog-Magog war on Israel. So, anyways, my question to you, how are you doing in your lockdown? Don't be shy. Be ready. Tell me, because I want to know what to pray for. So tell me, anyone who's watching this video, whether you're watching it after I close it off or you're watching it, I will put this on YouTube, whether you're watching it on YouTube or whether you're watching it live. Send me a 5-minute video on my Facebook Messenger. Can't miss it. You got a picture of me on there. It's the same as on my YouTube. It's just Robert Rice. Send it to me. I want to know what to pray for, because everybody has needs. And the faithful, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. I'm not saying I'm righteous. Jesus Christ is righteous, and he lives in me. So I can go to the Lord. I love you all. God bless you. Spend your time in prayer. And the Lord watches over his children. And God bless you and have a good night.